Okay, so you guys have seen my previous videos where I've talked about the very old version of Hogs of War, you know, the one where they all look super creepy. Well, it turns out that there was meant to be some additional characters alongside the military cast of pigs. These characters were mainly involved in mission objectives, or they were placed on the map to disrupt the player. Either way, they gave a real sense of realism to the Hogs of War universe, and they provide us with another glimpse of how the game could have turned out, both in terms of development and gameplay. To quote the 1997 Hogs of War design document, other characters would appear in both single and multiplayer. They will usually be the objective of a mission and will not move until under the control of the player. For example, the mission may be to escort important scientists from their bunker to a safe zone that will be designated on the map itself. The player will compete to gain control and protect them in order to complete their mission. Now, no footage actually exists of these unused characters. In fact, the closest thing I can think of in regards to other characters is the civilian pig that the player is able to see on several missions on the PC version of the game. Speaking of which, let's start off with the civilian. The civilian pig is quoted as being used in several missions. The player controls them once they have been liberated, which in gameplay terms means that you just touch them. It goes on to say that they have no combat skills except for hand to hand, they have a moderate speed and wear either dirty peasant clothes or smart suits. Alongside having hand to hand combat to defend themselves, which as we know would be the trotter, the civilian pig could also utilise a pitchfork or an umbrella depending on their design. Next up we have the scientists. They are fairly similar to the civilians, as they would only really be armed with a trotter for combat. The document states that these pigs look mad, dressed in stereotypical white lab coats, wild hair and spectacles. Scientists are either extremely fat or very thin. Meanwhile, hostages are also quite similar to civilians, the only difference being that they are quoted as ragged individuals who have been incarcerated against their will. Hostages have the ability to move and fight with their trotters, but other than that they are fairly minor characters. One of the most intriguing unused characters is the Pigs of the Night. Now this is the first and only iteration of female pigs within Hogs of War, and they are described as being young lady pigs. If one of the players gets too close, he will lose his opportunity to move for a turn as he wears the pig for hire like a cheap coat. That just makes me feel dirty just saying it, but the Pigs of the Night are able to use their lips as weapons, whereby they attempt to suck soldiers' reproductive organs from their mouths while suffocating them in a cloud of perfume. I don't really know what to make of that one. Moving swiftly on then, looters and militia pigs are country folk who, after rubbishing the towns and cities, greedily seize everything they can get in the back of their cart. They guard their spoils and attempt to get off the map as soon as possible. Militia pigs may come under the player's control. Now these unused characters I think can be separated into two different groups. The first consists of civilians, hostages and scientists. These guys are directly involved in gameplay as the player needs to escort them or save them, or just, they're generally a part of the missions. The Pigs of the Night and the Militia are more secondary, external characters that don't require the player's direct contact through gameplay. Instead they act more as obstacles or just area to avoid during battle. Although having said that, the document does say that the militia may come under the player's control, but why and in what capacity? The thing I like most about these characters is how much they bring the game world to life. You've probably heard me talk about it before in how empty the game currently is in regards to the game's plot and overall universe. So do you think these additional characters would have worked well with how the game is today? I think the idea of escort missions and protecting certain targets would definitely have been a huge plus, primarily because they offer much more in comparison to the objectives that we have today. The final version of Hogs of War does have the player protect buildings like the wine cellar in Mission 15, or destroy certain targets like the chemicals in Mission 19, but buildings offer less detail when compared to additional pigs. There is only so much of a story you can tell with a building or a complex, whereas a completely different external character can amplify a plot or story extensively. Long story short, these additional unused characters could have been used to further engross the player within the Hogs universe, but ultimately they were left out. I think the reasoning behind their removal was down to the style of the game at the time and the overall size of the map. Back in the day, the map felt much larger and the pigs seemed considerably smaller, so in today's terms, having other pigs alongside the teams we already have would have been too much. Overall though, that is going to wrap everything up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. What do you think of these unused characters? Let me know everything you have to say in the comments. Let's get a discussion going as we always do. In terms of the topics we brought up today, I will be discussing things in more detail in an upcoming podcast alongside the idea of different mission types and just everything in between that we discussed today. So stay tuned for that, and in the meantime, I will catch you guys later for the next one. Peace out, y'all!